There we are. Welcome everybody to the new diffs architecture blueprint weekly. I'll go straight to the agenda, and I have the first point. I would go if I had the agenda in front of me. I lost the tab. So time-wise, we've iterated on this a lot, and we still haven't had a lot of participation on the APAC call. So we're going to iterate once more. And instead of doing like large oscillations, the proposal is to keep just one call instead of two. We were having Tuesday and Thursdays. So we're going to try to iterate with just one time slot. We know we're going to lose some participants each week, but we feel like it's a more joint approach. We'll give it a try, see how that goes, and then we can iterate more if we still have problems. So the proposal is one call per week instead of two, and we'll alternate between the times of now, 2:30 p.m. UTC to, sorry, not 2:30 a.m. UTC, sorry. That would be still not 7:01. So the idea is that we'll catch the Asia part, which will allow Patrick to participate, knowing that Americans won't be able to make it. So here would be Thomas and Justin. I think that would be really hard for you to make that. So what I would ask is to, in the weeks that you can participate on the same call, still add points to the agenda asynchronously, or find a representative of your teams to convey your points and your thoughts. So that's the reason. Is there any reason why we shouldn't try this? Anybody? All right, let's give it a shot. So I'll go ahead with the changes for the next week. So next week, we'll do the 10:30 new slot from next week. I'll take care of that after the call. Nope. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much for the understanding. Thomas, you have the next point.
Yeah. So we as a group had opened a bunch of issues to define things, definitions, metrics, just all kinds of stuff, get into the doc. We didn't get a ton of like engagement on those issues. So I'm just trying to merge what we had discussed and anything that we've discussed as a rough draft into the blueprint doc, so that we can just discuss improvements and changes in MRs in the future. I think we kind of tend to get maybe a little bit stuck in issues and not like actually move forward. So I'm just merging them. I just would like to merge them as is, and then we can like incrementally improve them with MRs. So I pasted the issues here. I'm updating to use the merge request URLs. Take a look at the blueprint doc that we have so far. 3 have merged. I've got 2 to go, metrics and like a suggestion for a technical architecture. Anything that's in needs to can take MRs and have suggestions, and we can discuss. There's more to go. So just take a look at that. And I also, the next point, Andre, we've already merged the order of our priorities. Should we close that issue?
That's a yes. Just did. Thank you so much. Did we cover Stanislav's comment?
No. So yeah. So Stanislav has left some comments on the first merge request that I posted there, and copied the link to the second one. I think so. Most of them I've responded to. Well, I've responded to all of them. I think some of the comments, like what I would like.
Okay, we can take care, Thomas. We can take care of the code review in the code review. I was just mentioning the comment in the agenda.
Well, what I mean is, he's got a good point. It needs more attention. But what I'm saying here is, I would like us to get that attention in more MRs, right? So if you disagree with the content of the MR, let's have a suggestion to change it in another MR, because I think we need to get the content into the blueprint doc. So
yeah, that makes sense. Thanks for collaborating on that. On that note, anybody has any thoughts or questions on this? I don't know, Stanislav, if you can speak because your camera's off. But I wanted to check in with the status of the server-side rendered streaming POC that you were thinking about preparing. Do you have anything in the pipeline to show us?
Can you clarify what do you refer
Sure.
to?
We've talked in the past about the possibility of server-side rendering, and there would be a POC shared with the rest of the group to probe around and play around with it. But there was something you wanted to change to the POC that you had. Can you remember exactly what it was? Maybe streaming, or I don't know, maybe.
I actually don't remember that. Actually, PSC is fully working, so if you just check out the branch and try it for yourself, it works. And it has streaming and all the stuff you need to check.
Okay. So I'm going to recover that, and I'm going to be putting the link to the MR in the branch, essentially. For it, because I think we're getting to the point where we're spinning our wheels a little bit. We're not making a lot of progress on the discussions. And what I'd like us to invest in, on top of documenting the framework and everything, is the validating of possibilities. So validating possibilities. So seven POC. That's the merging question that was prepared in the past. And mostly the questions that are on our minds is this viable? Is this a good way forward? And in terms of backend, how does backend see this possibility? And should we come up with iterations on top of that POC and that we could extract an architecture out of? Because for me, that it's a really important decision to aim every optimization in the pipeline from Git to Rails to server-side render stuff, or to render things from the client side from scratch. And how does that really impact the architecture? So that's what I would like us to start moving on, is validating these things and to probing them so that we can get architecture extracted out of them. Does that make sense, if you ask? Is it clear? Just play around with that POC, and eventually, if you have other possibilities, I would love to see. I know that Carrie has that other issue about potentially alternative ways to syntax highlighting. I think that's another good investment, because that will guide a lot of our decisions later. But the server-side rendering, I think, something I would like to either bet on or discard, I guess. That's the ask. Okay. And then we could talk about it next week. If you have any other like crazy, not so crazy ideas for architecture and approaches, do bring it up. Create an issue, even if you don't have a POC, then we can talk about it. I know that we've talked in the past about using client-side caching or client-side storage, like IndexedDB, to store a lot of the information that is coming from to render the diffs. So yeah, we need to document those and put up for discussion. Any comments on that? Thoughts? Sounds good? Cool. So, any other points to discuss today? Going once? Requests?
Should we? Well, no. I was going to say, should we talk more about metrics? What metrics we want to track, which gets to the MR review that Stanislav left. I do think we should do that in MRs though. So let's do it there.
Yeah, I think it's best, but we do have time now. But is there anything in particular that we need an answer on?
I just checked the user journey that Thomas did like a while ago, and for some reason I cannot see the results in Grafana dashboards for almost like 3 months. So something has broken there. Maybe we refactored some stuff and we just broke it.
Check. Have we got the access request granted already? because the
Yeah.
dashboards were off.
Yeah, I did actually. I fixed something, I think yesterday. So hopefully the metrics should start coming in like from today. I'll keep an eye on it though.
So the VM needed to be restarted or something. So he had he requested access to the GCP so they can manage that instead of having to nag Tim all the time. Every time we need that. So hopefully we can have a bit more active role maintaining that working. The question then, were you leveraging the data from, did you want to leverage the data from the user journey to define the metrics or to at least quantify them?
I mean, we need to be able to measure any improvements that we make. And so the only real like measurable metric that we have right now is that one journey of like going to an MR and auto scrolling to a comment, I think it was, or a line, maybe line code. So like, does the page load? How long does it take to get to that line of code, whatever. There are other things that we should track, and some of those are things like leaving a comment or what are the other right actions that we couldn't do because you couldn't like authenticate. We couldn't actually like authenticate with the like user journey application. So it was only read-only stuff, which is pretty limiting, but.
Yeah, that's okay. I think at this stage of the project, we can define that we aim to comply with those limits, even if we don't know exactly, because remember, we're at the architecture stage. Of course, the payload, the size, all of that definitely needs to be factored in, but we still have a bit of a time before we start implementing things. So we can like ballpark it that will comply to those goals, even if we just define them a little later. What I'm more interested about, we already have sort of the perceived performance priorities, already sort of have the somewhat technical limitations on the technical budgets of what we can transfer and everything. And now it's a matter of creating an architecture to support that, even if we don't know exactly how many milliseconds we'll track for the inserting of a comment or something. But we already have the priorities in mind, so we can already think that deferring everything to, on DOM ready might not be the smartest idea. We need to do some sort of like smarter architecture to get the perceived performance where it needs to be, even if we don't have the specifics of every metric, but we should have it by the end of the publishing of this. Which leads me to one small update. I don't know if I mentioned here or not, but I am going to be defining one of the OKRs for our teams. I'll have to talk to the backend engineering managers on code review and source code to see if they want to gang up on that. But the idea is to have as a goal for Q4 to publish the architectural blueprint. In terms of time frame, it gives us a couple of months until the end of January to get this blueprint out the door. In terms of time frame, is that what everybody was thinking, or do you think that that's a bit too tight to have a blueprint agreed upon? That's why I'm asking to start looking at the actual proposal and start to move things towards a direction, because we need to get a move on it. Is that okay for everybody? It sounds okay to get published by the end of Q4. Any objections? Should we try an ambitious goal to have it by the end of Q4?
That's why I shifted to merging all of these issues, because I think we need to get something in so that we can start iterating.
Yeah,
because it is. I mean, it's not like tight, but it's kind of tight. We only have like a month.
Natalia, with your experience with the previous blueprints, I know there are significant variation between blueprints depending on what they're trying to document, right?
Yes.
Some of them are faster because they already have an idea what they're building. We're kind of like a lot of open questions. From your past experience, do you think that that's something that that it's unrealistic to think that we'll have something by the end of Q4, or is that within the realm of worth a try?
Depends on what something do you have by the end of the quarter. Something is very undefined term.
Yeah, so the goal, so one of the things we knew is like we want to have something published before we start shipping things, right? And we know that there's always some degree of uncertainty when we do that, but we want to have a direction. So we want to know, are we going to be building a server-side rendered application for this? Are we going to be doing a different approach? Are we going to be doing deferred loading? Like just an approach defined. Of course, there's going to be some open questions for implementation later, but at the end of the quarter, I think it would be nice to have a direction to get us starting to implement. I don't know what status that means for the blueprint, but publish is kind of like an idea.
That's realistic. And also, even if you're not sure that you will be taking this direction to the end, you still can say that currently we're working in this direction and we're not sure that this will be the final approach. It's also completely fine for the blueprint.
Okay. That's really useful to know. Thanks. So I wrote that there. I'll put that into words, massage it, put it in OKR, and then tag all the VMs to make that a goal for everybody. And again, it doesn't change anything. It just makes it an OKR, which could be helpful if we need to make some decisions as a priority, especially the people here in the call talking about this, doing POCs, validating things. I know that we all have competing priorities, and I think this would formalize that we're actually working on this seriously. So we want to get it to the end of the quarter. So essentially what this means is that your EMs will give you a bit more time to play around with. I'll also tap Italy's EM, Justin, so that we can account on that for you too. Cool. That's it. I don't have any other updates. Anybody has any other thing to share? Then okay, thumbs up. There it is. It worked. Thanks everybody for your time, and have a great week. And I'll see you next Tuesday, hopefully in the new time.